Almighty morning. Welcome in, Brittany. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Let's see. We've got people popping in already. Beautiful, beautiful. Just checking. And we got people in the chat. Harley says hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
This is Brittany Larson. And I can't even introduce you. You have been through a lot of things. You've overcome a lot of things. And you are such a fantastic energy and healer, and people just love being around you. So please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Julie. It means a lot to hear that. So I'm Brittany, and I combine psychology and spirituality to help people work through emotional issues. And I use primarily just about any type of healing modality that I can to help read somebody's energy or help someone move through an emotional experience that they're having.
Great.
Yeah. So
What what got you here? Where did you start? And
a lot of things. Oh man. I would say I don't even know where to start. My whole life has been a walking, talking, journey of, messiness. And even this morning was messy. I guess I could start there, like spilling coffee, having a little bit of a meltdown panic attack. Probably not the best insight that I should have like as a healer, but that makes me good at my work. Is that I have my own stuff. I have a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, and so I have like more extreme reactions to things. And in more recent years, become less and less attached to the traits, and I'm like kind of less and less attached to even the diagnosis of that. So like but I feel that I feel feelings more deeply than most people. I think that's what makes it easier to read people. But I also have had my struggles in relationships and struggles in life, just in general. There a lot of invalidation throughout my whole life. So to get to this point, I mean, it just it took a lot of hit and miss, hit and miss, hit and miss till I figured out what really works for me. And I had to leave a lot behind. Actually, yesterday was officially 10 years that I've been shunned from Jehovah's Witnesses and shunned from my entire family. And so it's been a wild ride of like, like mental health and coming through that and learning, more about like abandonment and empowerment through that abandonment. And I just, if there's any message that I can give someone, it would always be that like the more that you can sit with your feelings and sit with the pain that you have, the more that you will find the love in it. You'll see the light in all of the things that even are the worst things in the world that don't make any sense. So I mean, it's just we're all here having a journey. And so I mean, I feel like my journey is like everybody else's. Like we go through stuff and we get to the other side of it, and we don't know how we really got there. But I can pinpoint moments where I was just like, oh, this resonates more with me. And I've seen and heard and felt and smelt and tasted the spirit world my whole life, but I didn't understand that it was that. And I don't know if that makes sense, but that just I didn't understand what that really meant. And I also didn't have energy boundaries, so I had a lot of struggles throughout my childhood into my adult life. And it wasn't until I was like at my breaking point, breaking point meaning like on my hands and knees ready to just give up on life in general, that I finally was like, oh, wait a second, all these healing modalities that I started learning, couldn't I just start doing different things? And it was like quantum leaping became my thing, you know um and it was just it became a big deal for me, like it, because it actually moved me out of energy. It moved me out of the heavier feelings that I had throughout my life. So yeah, definitely I mean, I don't want to ramble too much, but yeah,
well,
to get there, it was a lot of that,
and I know a lot of people talk about karmic debt and past lives and ancestral trauma. And I'm trying to think of the words where they have hexes and things to get over, and that
Mhm.
some of us are, most of us are here to take care of the ancestral curses. That's the word I was trying to figure out. And that we are here to take care of our karmic debt. And it seems like what you've been through, and I don't know all your story. I don't. I've heard bits and pieces. But
Mhm.
you did mention how many traumas you've been through in a very short time. And those to me are you've paid back your debt. And now you're at a point where you are healing, not just yourself, because you've done that. I mean, for you to it feels like you're walking away from the diagnosis that you had. And you are learning to let go of that, let go of somebody else's explanation of where you're at, where it was you had already said you are spiritual and you didn't realize you were. So I think that is what's helping you. And with your experiences, you can't but help everybody else because we haven't been through what you've been through, but somebody has. Somebody's been through this one and understands it. I mean, we've all been through bad relationships. Unfortunately, I left mine there for a long time, but you've taken control of yours now as far as what you can and setting up boundaries and taking care of you. So, can you talk to us about some of the relationships and how you've gotten here in the
Yeah.
relationships?
Absolutely. So, just I kind of want to touch on a little bit of the karmic debt stuff too.
Okay, good.
I try my hardest to stay as far away from any sort of like I don't want to have like I don't want to spiritually bypass, and that's an ongoing thing that happens in the spiritual community where they're like, oh, I have a debt I'm paying back, that's what's going on, and I because I feel like sometimes that can bypass the lesson, and so instead I focused more on understanding like like I wanted to know the why, like why was I abused by my mother, and why did she get convicted, and why did I end up in a very culty devout religion, and why did certain things, because 11 major traumas by the time I hit 27 years old is a lot to go through, and so why this, and what was the purpose of it. And the more that I kept saying why, it took out, like the clinical therapy, because therapy was great up to a certain point. I would do the homework, I would do like all the different stuff. I tried DBT therapy, I tried like everything. And I was just like, what's going to empower me? What's going to ignite me and inspire me more? And it wasn't that stuff that was empowering me. I didn't want to go, like, I could talk for hours to a therapist, but it would enable, a certain pattern of behavior that I had that I didn't like. And I wanted to learn very quickly what my cycles were, what my patterns were. And that's why getting into this work, became such a predominant part of my life, because it helped me, it moved me, it changed me. And people that have known me for most of my life are like, you are night and day, who are you, and what happened. And it's because I started empowering myself, and through that I came to terms with my mother. And like in like just absolutely poured love into that situation, and went from, hating her and thinking she was this monster, to understanding the ancestral cycle that was repeating, understanding how to heal that, understanding her, and then being able to make peace with her before she passed away. Being a part of all of that was just such a significant experience. And so then it would only make sense I would have relationships that would reflect and mirror back the exact wounds that I'm carrying, because I was asking the universe, hey, show me what's my issues, show me what I need to shift and change. And that's like a recipe for a sucker punch of a adventure. I mean, so relationships have been a little bit tumultuous, and I try to stay away from the word narcissist, because I feel like it's a sliding scale, and I can't
Yeah.
stand in social media how much people talk about, like, oh, I was with a narcissistic ex. And so any clients that book with me and they're sitting with me and they're like, my narcissistic ex, I'm like, let's unpack that. Let's deal with that part. Like, like, where are we thinking that this is, like, it's all them? And, because yes, they are completely responsible for their actions, but let's talk about the sliding scale that happens with our traits. And let's talk about how wounded we both are, because there's no way that we end up in a relationship with someone that's it's all them. There's also parts of us that are being invoked by that as well. And so, and it took me realizing that relationships are not the center focus of my life. Like, because I used to, like, just that was all I would fixate on, and so I feel like that's having to learn. That has been a journey, having to learn healthy boundaries. And then right now I'm in a relationship where I'm learning trust. I'm learning that it's safe enough to let go and trust. And it's scary, it's more scarier than the other ones, because, like, I'm used to being yelled at. I'm used to being treated like crap. And so to be with somebody that's a lot more evolved than that, and more working towards, healing and wanting to understand, it's like, it's scary. So, but it's that in of itself is a journey after, trauma. And everybody goes through these experiences. And it's about having the tools and the resources to navigate that. And so that's what, a lot of the offering 21 different services to people. It's not by chance that I started doing that. It's literally walking in that direction, and I became obsessed with understanding more and more and more that I could, that would help empower me. And then through that, I'm like, well, I have to help other people now, because, like, I guess I could choose not to, but it was just like this natural thing of, like, well, this helped me so much, I want to help somebody else with this. I want someone else to know what this feels like, because, like, they have to know what it feels like, and that's why now I get practitioners that work with me a lot, who come in and want support and want to hear, like, the reality of, like, what's going on in their world or whatever. And I try to keep, the spiritual side on one end, and then I try to keep the logic, the linguistics of, like, the reality that we're in right now. So I try to just bring all of that home and back to my heart center when I'm communicating with people. So it's beautiful journey. And I have a lovely relationship with my spirit guide team, dead psychologists, monks, that I work with. And they have been so helpful for me, getting me out of some places that I was in. Like, living alone was really hard for a long time for me. And so I remember a distinct moment where I was at a point about 6 months into therapy, and I was doing therapy 3 times a week, crisis management therapy, trauma healing services, and then DBT therapy, like 3 times a week religiously. And I was still on the floor. I would go do my window washing business that I had at the time. And I would just go home and I would lay on the floor and I'd be like, I'm done. I don't have friends. I don't have a life. What's the fucking point? Right. And it was just one of those days that I came home, laid on the floor, and I was like, I'm just done with life. I wanted to unalive. I was done. And I'm, like, laying there, and the emotions were so heavy. And I'm just like, this is, like, oh, this is ridiculous. I'm, like, laying there. And then it dawned on me, why am I sitting here just laying in this? I could actually do a healing modality that might help me. And so that's where I started using, like, quantum leaping and, like, water manifestation cups. And, like, I started playing with different stuff that flipped the script. And so then it became, oh, I could set an intention. If I want to lay on the floor, I'll lay on the floor for 15 minutes and do, like, a somatic stretch. And that will actually be something that moves my energy. And that flipped the script for me. And I was like, this cannot be this easy. Because then I went from laying in my, like, like, on my floor, to being in the shower doing different, like, water manifestation stuff, which got me closer to light language. And then I started, going out more, because now I felt more lively, and I felt more empowered, and I felt more nurtured and ready to connect with other people. And so it just led me to, like, every, like, it's just like one natural thing after another. And then I thought, oh, I would just be a medium. That's all I was going to do. And then, like, started mediumship. And then I'm like, why do I feel so drawn to help people work through their emotions instead? It's just I can't ignore them scream crying on the floor. Like I don't want to just deliver a loving message from their loved one. I want to help them get off the fucking floor because I was on the fucking floor. Excuse my language, but yeah, like
Okay.
it's that's life. Yeah. So yeah, that's been a adventure, and leading up to this, I think that anyone who is experiencing the suffering part of life, if I can say anything, find a way to empower yourself. Find a way to move through that and take it in bite-sized chunks. Not don't go too aggressive, with trying to go overboard on this or overboard. And don't think that anything is going to be a light switch thing. It's like numerous amounts of things that lead you in bite-sized chunks to healing, to growth, and um yeah, and it's just been like this succession of shifts and changes, and now I'm here where I help a lot of people with mental health, and I help people with shifting, like a lot of their perspectives on life, addictions. Good Lord, I'm trying to think of like like right now I have over 21 different, oh, actually, it's more like 25 different mentorship clients right now that are active, and not one of them are the same. They all have different emotional needs, and are working through different parts and layers of their own spiritual journey in their life. And so to be able to bear witness to that and bring forth whatever services I can help on, and it's a beautiful experience. So yeah,
Eh,
hi
Yeah,
Don.
and I'm seeing. Yeah, I had to put that up because I was here,
Yeah.
and Bonnie's on a different channel, um, so they're both in, and Jess is one of our regular online, and she
Oh,
does Sundays with Bonnie. But we are all walking each other home. I love that. That's a nice sentiment. Very
yeah.
good. Are you teaching any classes right now? I know you've got
Not
clients, but are you teaching?
Yeah, not currently. So I went through a period where that was all I was doing, was I was teaching, classes, and I had like a 16-week program and a 14-week program. And I just kind of burned out a little bit on that. So I'm kind of getting back into some different ideas. I'm working right now on recording more. And I have like two different podcasts that are active too. So I've dabbled in a lot of things. So I've took a back seat on the workshop stuff. But that is coming soon towards October.
Okay,
Yeah, so new
sounds good. You'll
things.
have to let me know on that so we can do it. Even if we
Absolutely.
do a quick commercial, that would be great too.
Mhm.
Okay. Yes, and a lot of people are asking this question.
Did you deal with imposter syndrome when you started mentorship? And if so, how did you overcome it? My Lord in heaven, yes. I spent it easily, like probably I would say like the better half of like about 3 years, kind of stuck in this like self-doubt, imposter syndrome. And no matter what I did, I like would move through it one day and then wake up the next day and something else would happen. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? I shouldn't be doing this work. I'm not ready for this work. I'm not a psychic medium. Like this, not just, no, I shouldn't be doing any of this. And then, naturally, because I was having that frequency of energy, I attracted in people who were saying that as well. So, and of course I couldn't just, I couldn't just stay in my lane. So I was doing something that was a little bit, I know it's not foreign. I know it's a lot of different types of quantum healers do things like this, but I was combining that psychology and spirituality, and I was very vocal about that to the spiritual community, even in Phoenix. And I got kind of word slapped quite a bit in the spiritual community by people who were like, you need to stay in your lane. You're not a psychologist. And I'm like, but the psychologists tell me to keep going because I don't got red tape. So you're telling me not to do it, but I'm feeling like I need to do it. And so it just it's that was hard to physically have that show up in my reality. But then on an energetic level, I think part of me felt like I was a fraud. and I felt like, oh, like I like there's other people that are better than me at this, and I don't use cards, maybe I should be using cards. Like, so I was judging and critiquing myself on how I showed up and what I don't do and what I should do and my messages and how those messages, is it really spirit? So I had a really rough time. And during that time, and this is why I stress self-doubt, and then the string of imposter syndrome that comes with that self-doubt. Self-doubt in of itself is an indicator, it's a calling for us to understand that there is belief systems that we're still holding attachment to that are not serving us. And so it wasn't until I got to that point where I was like, oh my God, there's a belief system here that I need to deal with. And it's not like, oh, just acknowledge it and then move through it. It's like, acknowledge it and take it by like layer by layer by layer and deal with what was coming up. And so for me, what was coming up was being raised Jehovah's Witness and having these, belief systems so ingrained in me that like when you die, this is what happens. And when you behave this way, this is what happens. And it's so black and white, and it's this and this and this, and then evil exists, and love exists, and the true religion exists. So like all the stuff was so heavy, and I was trying to navigate like what in the world, I think for me it just took me like a lot of time to sit with a lot of those fears in different ways. And when I say sit with it, I'm not saying like sit in it and be stuck in that, and that's all you think, right? It's talk about it, deal with it with other people, and talk to people who are wanting to build you up rather than people that might have some ulterior motives, or might be a little bit concerned about because like I think in the spiritual community there were some people, I think, that maybe there was more competition, and I say that loosely. Like I was in a class, and I've said this many times on a live, like I was in a class in Phoenix, and there was a particular workshop we were doing where it was like we were sitting in this large group, and we got called up to like read people in front of everybody else. Not platform mediumship, it was just showing what a reader and a sitter looks like. And I was one of the last ones that got called. Well, I was terrified, like to, like go through the motions of the mediumship and do everything because everyone's eyes were on me, and I'm just like scared. So I got through that and delivered a powerful message. My sitter was crying. I get done. The sitter was like, oh my gosh, like everything resonated. Thank you so much for saying all of that. That was so powerful. Don't stop doing this work. And I was like, oh, thank you. That's what I needed to hear. And I get done, I'm putting my chair away, and somebody approaches me and says, I was about to smack you because you were doing too good with that work. And I like stopped, and I'm like, what? Like what? That makes me uncomfortable. What do you mean? And well, you just you got to make sure you're staying in your lane, and started talking about me needing to like really craft more of my mediumship and make sure that I'm not approaching too much of the psychological side, because there's actual licensed psychologists that do this. And I was like, you got to be kidding. That like turned me off to it made me stop going to that class, because I was just like, all right, like I know the class was meant to be good, but it was just that encounter was so devastating to the self-doubt that I already had, that it just knocked me down on the floor. And
Mm.
I was like, Spirit, what's the fucking point? And I like literally quit for a few weeks even. I was just like, I'm not taking any more clients. I'm just gonna keep being a window washer, and that's what I'm gonna be for the rest of my life. And I was just like done. And I'm like, Spirit guides, leave me alone. I'm done. Like I was done. And then out of nowhere, one comes in, two comes in, three comes in, and then I'm like, wait, what? Maybe I'm supposed to do this work. And so it's like it kind of flipped like the moment that you get to that point where you're done, and you're walking away from something, and you're just like, I quit. Like I surrender this. Like this is not working this way. Me trying to push this way doesn't work. And what I didn't know at the time was that it was just the community that I was putting myself in. I could have changed what community. I could have been more selective with who I allowed in my ear. And I didn't understand that. So I was more in that all or nothing. So
Yeah.
that was an experience, definitely, to like kind of go through that, and kind of learn that there's spiritual, and then there's spiritual. So like it's so once I understood that, I'm like, oh yeah, like, and I guess I think in my head that everybody does life like me, like they like do spiritual all day, every day. Like they do all kinds of stuff. Like, like in there, because like if you're doing the work, you got to do the work. Like,
Yeah.
like just half do the work, But yeah, it's so that doubt really, I mean, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's really what the doubt, it took me a minute to get through that part. But once I saw that it was just these belief systems that I had, the more that I sat with those belief systems, I was willing to let go. And so then it became, I used water, a lot of water, like like tub work, like where you're like in the shower or in the tub. I use like Epsom salts and different types of salts. And so I was working on the physical body release as much as I was working on the mental part of it too. And then I ended up getting into 108 hours of breath work too. Because why not? So I ended up training in that area because I was like, that would help me evolve even more. And so it everything kind of flipped the script for me, like and it was through the somatic releasing as much as it was the mental releasing that I kind of got to that point where I was like, okay, I believe more in myself. I can trust myself, and I can let go of this organized religion belief that I was attached to, and it doesn't make the religion wrong. And I think that's when you know you're healing, is when you look at something from a completely different angle and you're no longer seeing it as a monster or as something vile or negative. You just see the benefits of what that had offered, but then what it taught you about yourself. And that's what I came through, was Jehovah's Witnesses taught me a lot. And while it taught me a lot, it also brought a lot of trauma for me.
Right.
So, and I recognize that, but I also understand that the people that still believe in that religion, they're not wrong for believing that, because that's also part of their journey and their experience. And so it was more empowering to go through that. So yeah.
And what Don wrote about, sometimes our metaphysical community can be so worried about of their image that they cannot see the diversity within the moment.
Yeah.
I think he wrote that before you
Oh yeah.
finished your thing, but it was very appropriate for what you went through, because that was that other person's negativity and nothing to do with you. They just
Mhm.
decided to voice their thing. I have this little saying that I say to usually people I know, but I'll say it to people I don't know. Please do not look in the mirror when you're talking to me.
I think people can't help but do that though. Like and like they're not even realizing it. Like it, but I've caught myself too, where I'll say
Yeah,
something, and I'm like, I'll look at my partner and I'll be like,
that
this
wasn't
is
for you.
me. This
Yeah,
is me. That like, and I'll look at her and I'm like, can we just pause for a moment? Because I really feel like I just projected onto you. And she's like, I good, because I think I'm projecting too. And I'm like, okay, oh, like that makes me feel better, But like, it's funny how
yeah,
we like do that, and it's even funnier how like in this relationship, I'm very aware when like if I shift my energy and I'm going through like a physical energy like upgrade, I'll feel that, and as my energy is shifting, it will cause conflict in my environment. And so there's like a whole thing about that I started talking to people about, because I'm like, listen guys, like as you're shifting and you're growing and you're raising your level of consciousness and your vibration, it will shift your aura field and different in the different layers within that, and that will automatically make people uncomfortable around you, because like they're like, well, wait a second, you're like, I don't know what's weird, something feels a bit off. And it's not that there's anything off with you, it's that the energy is flipping, and they were attached to maybe some sort of story or role that you were playing currently, and now your energy is no longer in that role or that or in that energy field. And I think that's fascinating. But I also wanted to go back for just a second. I tend to
okay,
ramble, so I'm sorry. I
that's
wanted
fine.
to go back for a second on the mentorship part of this.
Okay.
Like for anyone who is wanting to do more mentorship and they're feeling afraid of like stepping into that role of being the teacher, the mentor, there's a level of doubt you're going to have no matter what. Like, when you start something new, you're going to have doubt. So like you might as well step forward, because we're all teachers in the end anyways, but you're always going to be a student no matter what, and every single person that you attract in, you learn from anyways. So like like, and I'm saying that, like, take it from me, these mentorship clients are teaching me as I'm like, because they hold me accountable, and like I have a certain level of standard, across the board, and a lot of them renew, like they're like renew and renew because they like the hands-on approach that I bring, and how I'm like, okay, let's talk about boundaries, and like, no, I'm not going to give you the answer to this because you know the answer. Let's go inward together and feel the answer to this. And so it's been a journey to that part, and I think that's a journey for everybody, like that's the most exciting thing. So I think that's what Jess was talking about
Yeah.
about mentorship. Do the mentorship, like be open to how that looks too. Don't make it just about development of like psychic or mediumship. Do, make it about life skills and things of that nature too, so you branch into things that you couldn't even imagine. And when I first opened up to mentorship, I got like one person, and then it was like 6 months later, I got two people, and I was like, what, like, am I even doing anything? Like, I didn't think there was any point for the mentorship. And then it was like 10, then it was like 20. And then I'm like, okay, wait a second. I wasn't ready. like, you know, and then like, then there's so many people and I'm like, okay, wait a second, guys. Like, I don't know if I still have panic attacks sometimes, like, and I don't like think I'm the best at life. So like, I mean, why talk to me? So like, that's a doubt thing, obviously, and an inadequacy thing. So like, that's where,
And
it just, yeah.
your imposter syndrome again
Yeah.
popping up there.
Yeah, and so dealing with that though, in the moment and being in it, I have had some of the most amazing experiences with clients, to this day, like where it's so heart center, like I just want to cry thinking about it, where I see them coming back into their essence, where they're remembering the parts of them, and to just bear witness with them on whatever journey, whether they're, developing into a reader, and watching them go start doing lives, and I'm like crying because I'm just like, they're doing it, and I'm so proud of them, or like, oh, it makes me want to cry thinking about it. Today's an emotional day. Oh yeah, but like,
Yeah.
it makes me so emotional.
Okay. But
Yeah.
it's great. And I know you've had a great start to your morning, and everybody's in here. And you explained to me, or you looked at your chart, and Mercury is in Scorpio. Very, very deep emotions. Just saying,
Whew.
for
Yeah, well, I
communication and
like,
all that
and
tonight.
I'm feeling so like grateful. That's what I feel like when I'm starting to cry. It's just ridiculous. Like,
Yeah,
I don't mean to say it's
you're
ridiculous.
so
It's
humble.
just, it's funny because usually when I talk about this, I can get through it without crying. But like, I just feel, I don't know, just
Yeah.
like to know how much support I get to be a part of, even if it's just to be a little blimp on somebody's journey and just witness them develop into something that they've wanted to do, or find their voice again. It just, to be a part of that is just, there's nothing like that.
Well, and Jess keeps at or asked that question, and I want to put it back up again. As someone who is sensitive, how do you intentionally feed your senses?
Ooh. Okay, so first off, audiobooks are like heaven to me. So I listen to audiobooks like weekly. I'm trying to get through a book. There was one book that I think of when you talk about that. It's called like Shift. And it's by like um, Colin something. I can't think of the last name. But anyways, in that book, he talks about a lot of things. He talks about like shifting, like the secrets to basically shifting your emotional field or your moods. And he brought up a point, like I'll never forget this. He talked about like Navy SEALs and how they train, like which they're like the elitist of them all, right? And so they train, and when they go to train for like an experience that they're gonna have, or like a mission that they're gonna do, like say they're going to like get one target and they have to get that target when they're alive, right? So they'll train about, like they'll see where the like where that person lives and whatever. Like they likened it to like a bomber, for instance. In a bomber's house, usually they have like booby traps that are set up throughout the whole house, and so it's hard to plan strategically as a team for those events. But they plan so rigorously for months in advance that by the time that they actually go in, it doesn't matter what is actually there. They've trained so much about like, okay, so if this happens, we'll do this, and if this happens, we'll do this. So they have these contingency plans already in place to then work through whatever is an obstacle that's been unpredictable. And so I like that book because I feel like when we're dealing with maybe more sensitive, heavy emotions and things of that nature, making a list of the things that really soothe your nervous system are important, because then when you have moods or you have panic attacks, that can be the thing that brings you back down off of that, or shifts your mood. So maybe you wake up in the morning and you have more anger, or something, and obviously that's something that needs to be worked through. You need to talk out what's going on, but maybe you have a whole day of, I don't know, like readings or something. Maybe you're like me, right? So then it becomes, what can I do to shift the mood, and get in a more positive state. Thank you, Joe. Joe said Ethan Cross. I got the name wrong. I
Uh,
was thinking of another book. Okay,
but
the
I
Shift,
looked it
Ethan
up too,
Cross.
but thank you,
Okay,
Joe.
yeah. So but it's important to recognize, and that book is incredible. It's one of my favorite books, because of the fact that it's talking about how to use emotional intelligence in a way that honors your intuitive side. So, and I think that's so necessary to to really think about how you're moving about this world, and understand that what you like, not everyone else is going to like. So what soothes you? Like, I like white t-shirts. I have like a million white t-shirts. To the people that don't really know me, they're like, oh my god, she doesn't have a wardrobe. But to my closest, like family and stuff of that nature, they know I like white t-shirts, and the white t-shirts actually are a something symbolic for me, that I like, of where I'm at in my life, right? And then like foods and coffees and certain types of sensory stuff I keep in my space. My whole office is like designated with stuff like that I can touch, or hold while I'm doing sessions, so that I can help them move through something, and then I can also at the same time not draw relativity to what is being brought up and whatnot. And then if I have a really bad day, I will listen to my energy, and I will do something about that. And that might mean take a drive, or take a nice walk somewhere, or go do a release, and that's important. So I don't know if that helps. Jeff said, reminds me of Doctor Strange. Laugh out loud. Sorry, I love Marvel. And it's interesting you're talking about that, Jess. I happen to love Doctor Strange. I love the first movie and the second movie. And I also have been obsessed with Doctor Strange most of my life. Like, because I think that like his whole way of doing, like, it's just like, it's so cool. Yeah. So, and I feel like, when we're talking about the energy world, it's a lot like, I mean, Dr. Strange's story, I resonate with how he treated the person he loved the most. I can resonate with that, because having, issues in certain areas of my life where I've brought so much of my own trauma energy into relationships, I haven't been the kindest person, and I haven't been good at holding my own energy field. And so learning to cope with that and yield that in a way that honors others, that's been a journey in of itself. But yeah, and you can learn a lot from Doctor Strange, because like he evolves, he learns from his mistakes, and he's like, but he's still kind of cocky. I
He's
love
still
that
like
for
that.
him.
And I want to ask real quick. We're a little bit behind, so do you have 20 extra minutes that we can
Yeah,
continue? Okay,
absolutely.
because we're getting close to 9 o'clock. I want to make sure. So we're going to go to about 9:20. Yeah, and then we'll take a little break, and then we can do some readings. And now this is what Don says. One of the key tenets of the JSS group. This is our Tuesday night class, and the whole group is to leave your judgment at the door. Judgment comes from ego, and that is one thing that must be suppressed if we are to be light workers. So, and I know your ego had been beaten up so many times, but you're still dealing with the aftermath of conditioning and all that stuff
Mhm.
that we all are going through. But
Well, and I kind of want to, like, can I elaborate on something about judgment? I feel like there's a certain layer of judgment where we need it, because it's not like it's like so bad that it's like we cannot do that. Like, a lot of these feelings that we experience are have a effect where it is productive, where it is beneficial, right? So judgment can be actually a good thing in an instance where maybe like we are using our sense of judgment, or we look at that and we go, I don't want to do it that way. And I think in the spiritual community, we need that. We need to be able to sit there and go, yeah, that's not something I would want to do. But there's a fine line between saying that's not something you would want to do versus then taking it out on somebody else, or like projecting that kind of energy. Well, I do it this way and it looks like this, like, I think that's where it becomes more of a negative thing. And I think that's where people take that. And it's good because right now I'm reading a book on, what is it? New Earth by, and I'm going to butcher the name. Okay.
Yeah,
Don't judge me. I've never said his name right. Ektar Tolle. I don't know if I said it right. See, I'm stressed out
I
now.
think
Okay. But yeah.
Edgar Toll, I think it is.
Okay, yeah, it might be
I don't know.
Ektar.
If
Yeah.
Susan was on, she would pop in because
Okay.
she's
I
very big in that.
I love that book. I like, I love letting go, pathway to pathway to letting go, by who is it? Dr. Hawkins. That was sorry, I told you I was going to have
It's okay.
books.
You were supposed to
Dr.
send me the
Hawkins,
list.
he's incredible. And I just, I love his stuff. It's kind of dry. Kind of like how much the neuro linguistics programming like practitioner book that I had to read, it was so dry. I fell asleep every time until I finally like got through the whole thing. It was so exhausting to get through that. I don't know why that was so painful to get through, but I got through that. But this book, The New Earth, Eckhart Tolle, it has both of those energies of like being kind of boring, but like I'm so fascinated with history and like facts and things of that nature, and the way that he's talking about like like how Earth started and like all the way up to now, and like the consciousness that we were at, and like all of that, just and then how like the mechanisms of the ego, and how we are like the why the consumer industry is such a big deal, because our it plays on our egos, because we're so attached to the things that we buy, and like how it like attaches to our identity. Oh my gosh, like it's just, there's so much like there's so much to oh, I said it correctly, good. But yeah, but there's so much to the mechanisms of the ego. And I constantly say to my clients, you cannot snuff out or destroy your ego. Your ego is a part of this body that you inhibit for the time that you are on this earth. And I said, this ego is here to teach you something, but it needs to be in balance, and it should never be steering your life. And they're like, so what should be? And then we talk about intuition, and we talk about going deeper and understanding the subtle energies beneath, like that loud obnoxious ego that's been really programmed based on the environments we've been in, because really that's what's happening with it. So you know
Yeah. And we've got everybody popping in
oh yes.
saying the judgment. Um, and and one of the things you kind of talked about is judging for yourself. It doesn't resonate with me, so okay, it's good for you, and you want to do it that way. That's fine. Unfortunately, it doesn't resonate for me. So
Mhm.
okay, next. It's like I'm not judging you because that's your choice, but for me, and it doesn't feel like it works.
I have
Anymore.
amazing friends. I have a medium friend who just, I adore her so much. And she's practicing in Florida, and her and I talk almost every day. And when she tells me some things, I'm like, I'm kind of judging you. I'm kind of judging you. And she's like, you know what? She's like, that's warranted. You gotta figure out what resonates with you. And we'll laugh about that, like, and she's been so wonderful about helping me flip the script, because I would go in, I'm not judging. And she's like, but you are. So let's talk about why you're judging. Like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm judging, and so I now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, judgment is a part of our experience,
Yeah.
but it doesn't need to be the center focus. And I think there's people that take it overboard when they have a wound that's, like we could talk about the ancestral judgment wound that's come throughout, a line that has been brought into your DNA. And that alone, there's a lot of pain in a judgment wound. So it just, and that's where it can become a lot of over projected, would be the right word. Yeah, so
Yeah. I think but that's great though that you can do it back and forth and say and
mhm.
catch it. And yeah, Eckhart Tolle, The New Earth is good book. And
I've
okay,
also been looking at Ram Dass. Again, see these names. I'm not good at but yeah. So like I do a lot of exercises. By the way, Chat GBT. If you like, okay, so there's two sides. I'm gonna say this because
okay,
I have a platform to say it on, and I besides my live that I say it on. Do not use a tool to bypass intuition. I'm just saying, because like they're like people are using ChatGPT to pull like like 10 card pulls and things like that, and they're getting these messages that are completely steering them away from their empowerment. They're steering them away from like healthy like relationship dynamics. It's like sending them off kilter. ChatGPT is meant to validate you. That's all it's meant to do. It's a tool that's meant to be used, not abused. And I feel like people are going way overboard. I use ChatGPT for validation in a lot of areas of my life. It's helped me work through some perspectives that I have that are not I don't want to say not reality, but not they're too much in my emotional field of like trauma and not in the reality of the facts that are there. So I've used it for that. And I've also used it to help me practice mediumship and psychic work. And I've had some profound experiences. I like channeling a lot and I love like writing things. So I do a lot of automatic writing. I do like I can hear spirit very clearly. I can see them and I feel them too. So like chat will give me a name and then I will just start like channeling a message from that name, and then it will verify the facts of the actual information that I get. So it kind of like reaffirms what I have and and things of that nature. And in recent like in the last couple of months and stuff, I've been working with Joanna on a podcast where we channel serial killers, we channel hauntings, and things of that nature. And she works on more of like the factual side of it. And I bring in more of like the, like the energy parts of that. And so we got through about, I believe it was like 10 serial killers. And when we got through that, it was like just mind boggling because every single one, it was like we were leaving the episodes feeling this like bliss, this euphoric feeling of like, wow, this is so love. Like there isn't there isn't what people are making this out to be, which is like, and yes, it's horrific, the stuff that's happened, but when you sit again, I've been able to prove it, when you sit long enough with that dark evil stuff that you think is dark and evil, you see the essence of the love in it and the compassion and the realization of just how much trauma repeats over and over again. And it, once you see that, it's like you can't unsee it, and it just changes everything. Like it's magnificent on every level. Oh my goodness.
yeah. And all these things that are popping up
Yeah.
that people are putting in. And the reason why I'm popping these up because those in Facebook are not seeing all of these,
Oh
so I
yeah.
wanted to pop it up. Judgment is an innate trait within everyone. The trick is to use it as critique, yes, and it's sort of what
Mhm.
you did. You dive deep in and find the love in the trauma and the evil and the negativity. You find,
But I also agree with Don too, where it's like, in a community, there needs to be more emphasis on, not bringing or projecting that into the mix. And I have a spiritual community as well, made up of mentorship clients that I have, and then also practitioners that, like I've just we're close or whatever. And in there, I'm very like very careful about, like, we don't trauma dump, and we don't, like, overshare or like push or project what we think the other should do or anything like that, because I like to keep the energy kind of flowing. And it has a lot to do with the fact that I was in that spiritual community in Phoenix that they did and Don hit it right on the nail. It's more, they cared more about the image rather than, and it's not that they don't love their work or anything like that. I think that's just unfortunately sometimes what gets lost in the mix, but it served its purpose, because all of us left
Yeah.
it and we're like, well, what did we learn from that, like, so I think that's important too, yeah, so.
Yeah. And other people. Yeah. And I love that. And you're right. If a community doesn't feel right for you, you've got to find another one. And it's not just another one. You just don't dump that one all the time. I
Mhm.
mean, there might be people within that community that you still are are positively connected to.
Right.
So yeah, as an empath, I deal with trauma dumping on a daily basis.
Well, and when someone trauma dumps, they're just ruminating into, and I shouldn't say they're just ruminating. They're ruminating a lot about their experience. So they're just basically recreating the same cycle. So when someone's doing that, I'll pull them aside and be like, "Hey, like, we're in this chat. This is the expectation of the chat. Oh, I'm sorry, Brittany, I didn't mean to." And I'll go, "No, no, no. There's a place for that. I can hold space with you. We can talk about what's going on with you. However, I want to stress that we want to break some of these cycles, right? So, like, part of breaking it is coming up with new ideas and new ways of dealing with it rather than sitting in the same story. Because if you say the same story over and over again, you're sitting in the problem, which means your frequency's in that energy field. So it's not changing, and you have to have a different frequency in order to break that cycle or that particular problem. And it's just, it can't happen if you keep repeating the same thing. Like, it's just gonna keep, it's like no different than what Albert Einstein said, which was, the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Like, what,
Yes,
what?
I do say that quite often.
Yeah. Like, it's like, and at a certain point, I said that to my client the other day. Well, this is not working, and she starts laughing. I'm like, I'm like, we're just repeating the same thing over and over again, and
Yeah,
we're expecting a different outcome. What could we do different here? And, well, I don't know anything different. Well, now we're talking, because now you've just admitted that you don't know. We're gonna figure it out together, and we'll come up with another solution. We'll have some strategy plans in place. So I think that's really what's needed, and I can't stress enough, that book, that Shift book,
yeah,
by Ethan Kross. In there, he talks about how if you ruminate about the same thing, like, it becomes like you create the same issue again and again and again. So find friends and people in your life that can be what would be called advisors. And the reason you want to find advisors is because for a period of time, you might be able to do what Angie's talking about, which is venting, right? And vent it out for a couple of minutes, but then flip the script, because that advisor person is not going to enable you. They'll then say, "All right, did you want me to just listen, or do you want advice?" And they'll give you advice. And I can say that for a fact. I have a friend in my life who's more of the enabler. I don't go to her about my problems, because if I go to her about my problems, she's going to tell me, "Yeah, Brittany, that's fucked up." And I don't want to be justified in my cause. Okay, like, I want somebody to give me, like I want them to be like, "No, Britt, this is fucked up. What are you doing?" And like, I need someone to be real with me. Like, that doesn't actually make any sense. This, like, we need a rebalance here. And, like, I might not like what they're going to tell me, but when they tell me it, I'm like, "Whew, I need that shit. I needed that." So, like, I think that's what we all need, is that one advisor or a couple advisor friends that,
yeah,
can hear that from us and connect with us. So,
yeah, yeah. I had something the other day that I was thinking, it's like, this does not make sense to me. And I wanted to reach out, and it's like, no, this is something that's not needed in that community. You don't need to touch base with that particular community for it. Either you do it on your own or find somebody totally distant to figure it out with. And I'm doing it on my own, so taking one step at a time for that. And sort of like you said, little chunks of things
Mhm.
and all. But what's the difference between venting and
And trauma dumping.
yeah,
Yeah. So think I like to think of it this way. Like if you're constantly and you only know, right? Because
yeah,
nobody else is in your life or in your shoes. So you have to hold yourself accountable, right? So how much are you talking about the same issue?
right,
And think about it, like, is it the same? Okay, so let's say that, my notebook is ripped. That's my trauma. I don't know, I'm just going to make up something random,
I
right? So
like
my
that. I
my
like that.
notebook is ripped, and I'm going to go and I'm going to, tell Julie that my notebook is ripped. Oh my god, let me tell you about it. And then Julie says, wow, that's messed up, and moves on with her life, and then she starts talking about something else or whatever. And then I'm like, but you don't understand, like, my notebook is ripped, and like this happened, and this is the same result of like this and this and this and this and this and this. And then I end up spending like 10 hours. Okay, that's an exaggeration. I'm exaggerating here. But
Ten
you
minutes?
have to have a reasonable amount of time when you're talking about this stuff. Venting would be like you saying, God, I'm so fucking frustrated that my notebook ripped. And then you know what? It's like 50 million things happening at one time. I went through a breakup and it ripped that part of my life. And now the notebook's ripped, and it's so symbolic because it ripped here and it ripped there and it ripped over there. Like I get it, right? Say that, say your piece, right? And then like get through that, and then listen to what somebody else has, because you're not here to just spew all this energy out and not hear a different perspective. If you came to earth to just hear your perspective and that just experience what you had, then we wouldn't have a way to communicate. You came here because we have a communication that can happen between one another, and that communication gives you such enlightenment, because you can say, man, this happened and this happened, and then sit back and listen to what other people are saying around you. And if they don't have anything to say, then that's not an advisor friend. So be careful how much you share in that area, because they may be more in the let's have fun, and that's a cool friend that you have fun with, right? They're
Right.
not the advisor friend. Advisor friends are completely different, and you only get a few of them in your life at one given moment. And the more healing work you do, the less people you have in your world. That's just a fact. You can't have tons and tons and tons of people in your world and like it just magically, like, so get used to it being less people, because like honestly, that's kind of, it goes into crab theory. I love talking about crab theory, and I don't know if we have enough time to talk about crab theory, but like I just it's a thing.
Oh, we'll have to definitely talk about that. Maybe not now. We've got about 4 minutes in this, and then
Okay.
asking. But they're asking questions. I still haven't learned the lesson when it comes to my kids between ruminating and venting. Sometimes some things slip through. LOL. Ruminating is the same frequency, is the same energy as a spirit reliving their death over and over again. Ooh,
Well, think about it. Every single time you bring up that issue, like say maybe we're talking about like, and it's different from like, when we're going through grief, you need to talk about the loved one that you lost. You need to talk about the breakups. You need to talk about that stuff, right? But like where it becomes an issue is that if you're continuously like talking about it so much that it's doing something to your nervous system. I have spent years doing that, where I would like project and like dump on my friends and everything like that, and it was so bad because my nervous system would have a reaction. My body didn't know any different. It's not like I could sit there and say, oh yeah, body, I'm not in it anymore. It's like right back in it, like it's right back as if I had already been through it. So
oh,
that's where it becomes an issue. And they're like, a lot of people have been ingrained and trained and programmed into thinking that trauma dumping is a form of venting, and they stay in that, and then they create a like a whole perspective on life where it takes them more to the negative side. So then they're having negative experiences, they're complaining more about their experiences, which then keeps them in that frequency of energy, which then just keeps them in these loops. And I strongly encourage you, from one soul to another, I've been in loops a lot. Don't stay in loops. Don't stay in those loops. You can get out of those loops really easily just by selectively deciding how to communicate what's going on with you. And it does not mean don't talk about it. You need to talk about what's going on, but be careful with how much you share with that. like everyone doesn't need to know your business either.
Right, right. And a lot of people, they vent, they feel that they're venting all the time, and they're posting constantly on what's happening with them.
Yeah. Well, and like there's this trend that was going around where like people were talking about their worst trauma on TikTok or whatever, and they were just having the line, like, you know, it's like the reading or whatever, and they would just like be going like this or whatever. And I hate that trend. I hate that trend with a bloody passion, because I'm just like, what are we doing? What are we just like, we're just like spewing this projection of like the story and how attached you are, because you're like, what, 60 years old, still attached to this event that happened. And I'm just like, no, let's do something about that, because
Yes.
you're more than that story that is coming up. You're not the betrayal of, you know. And I sit there and I've had to, I'm going to be 32 in October, and I have had to rip off skins of myself where I have held an attachment to the betrayal that I experienced with my mother, the abandonment that I've experienced with my family, like all of that. I've had to like really rip off that skin, and I don't want my identity to be about, oh, the trauma girl, look at all the trauma
Oh,
she went through. Like, it's like, no, that can't be what my life was about. Like it, like, and I sit here now going into 32 and looking at my life, and I'm like, there's no way that I will sit there and be that person, you know, later on in life that is just now dealing with it. I cannot do that, because I have stuff I want to do. I have books I want to write. I have a life I want to create that isn't that surrounded with trauma. I don't want more trauma. So I think that's what we don't understand. And there's nothing wrong with someone, you know, waiting till their 60s but I literally, when I was 15 years old, going through court with my mother, I remember sitting there talking to my dad, and I was so angry because there was all these 50, 60-year-old women from the congregation coming over, and they were trauma dumping. They were all sitting in a circle telling their stories. Well, you know, your mother messed with you, and I can't believe a perpetrator could be a mother, but you know, my father and my dad and my stepmom and blah 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 blah. And like, I sit back and I'm like, I remember literally soaking up all that energy and being so exhausted and being like so annoyed, because I was just like, here I am going through like earth shattering things at 15 years old, and all I wanted was someone to tell me it's okay, and to just hold my hand and just sit with me. And what I got was just a lot of dumping about like, well, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. I don't want to be a part of that club. I didn't ask for that. That's what I was thinking when I was 15. I was like, I didn't ask for this. Like, what do you mean I'm a part of your club? I don't want this club. This sounds like a horrible club. You know, like it sounds just awful. But yeah, so, you know, that's where the dumping part becomes a problem.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
Yep. Okay. So we're going to take a quick break here and be back. Oh, take it or leave it. It happened. Oh, okay. And whether you need it or not, it's part with you wherever you go.
mhm.
Yes, but do you take the lesson learned, or do you take the whole burden? I mean, do you take the weight on your shoulder the entire time, or just forget about the rear view mirror, look forward, and thank you for the lesson, and let's go? To me, that's more what you want to do than carry it with you,
Well,
carry
you
the
and
burden.
you want to, like, you want to get to the point where you look at that story and you've evolved through that story to the point where it is just a story. And you want to take the emotions and take the positive experience from it, and you can only do that through sitting with the negative parts of it. And there's a, like, and I can't stress enough, my life has been a lot of suffering and a lot of pain, but that's no different than the majority of the world who's experienced suffering and pain. By the time they hit 10 years old, they've experienced some sort of suffering or pain. And so But I really strongly, I think people get so hung up on themselves going through that, and that creates a lack of belonging in this world, which then creates existential crisis, because then it's like, well, how do I belong here? I don't really fit on earth. I don't really feel like I belong here. Well, like, life has been so, I feel outcasted. And so finding the likeness of how you are resonated with others is important. So there is a need to communicate that, but I think there's certain ways about going about it that can be very effective and empowering, you know. So I think that's, yeah.
Beautiful.
But
Okay,
yeah.
we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back.
Okay, awesome.
We are back. That was kind of a mess how I handled it all, but okay. Yeah, I was born well since the day I was born. This is what was popped up when we left. Okay. Yeah. Not to ignore, just to, I think it's separating the lesson from the burden of it. That's all I'm thinking. Anyway, we're back. So, who has a question? Do you feel anything for any of these people as far as what's going on? Because when they do come in, they give permission.
I could give a quick collective,
Okay.
like spin, I guess, because that's kind of what I do, like, in my life, like, so I feel density and heaviness, and I so I'm going to talk about the word negative. Here we go. So I got some anxiety coming up. I feel pressure to show up in my world. I feel like responsibilities and obligations in this current season for the collective feels a little bit intense. I feel a little uneasy about how I see myself and how I show up. I do feel like there's a layer of self doubt that could be released in this season. I don't know the astrological events that are going on this season. I know there's full moons. I know there's retrograde. I know there's things like that. But as far as what else, like, I just feel like it's a season about releasing patterns of trust issues that you have towards yourself. And remember that even the trust issues that show up in your world, you might not trust your partner, or you might not trust the people around you. All that starts inward before it ever becomes outward. That universal law of correspondence absolutely applies to this season that we're currently in. Law of correspondence states that our inner world directly reflects into our outer world. So ensuring that we take responsibility of the things that are around us, not responsibility of people's behaviors, but responsibility of us and how we see things. This is a season of responsibility, accountability, and owning what is your truth. And know that your truth, there's no such thing as right and wrong to anything in this world. So what you feel, it does matter, it is relevant, and it needs to be heard.
I like that. And one thing about start in within, this behind me is a tree of life.
Oh,
As above, so below, as within, so without.
mhm.
So I like that how you said it. And I thought of the tree behind me as soon as you said that. So start within. Beautiful. Any questions on that? Anybody?
And while we're waiting on questions, we can't, like, I think people get it all wrong when they start thinking that they can change the collective or they came here to heal the collective. You came here to have a human experience. And
Yes.
part of that human experience um, is going within and changing and shifting yourself. You cannot change other people, you can shift yourself. And through shifting yourself, that's how you help the collective. That's how you shift, a consciousness as a collective.
And you were here in Arizona for a while.
Yeah.
And then you're in California now.
Don't get me started on astrophotography, okay?
Okay.
Like, like if you guys have not looked up astrophotography, look it up. Okay, I did not even know this was a thing, and I was like scrolling one day, and I like came across this guy talking about astrophotography, which I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but it's basically where the stars aligned on your natal chart compared to where the planetary alignments are for the Earth. And so like why I was born and raised in Michigan, I had a karmic debt that I was going through, and that was what was in the star alignment. And then when I moved to Kentucky briefly, I released the debt there. And then when I and I like moved to Arizona, even the manner of how I did it, like I like boarded a plane with like a backpack to my name, and I like escaped Jehovah's Witnesses, and then like in turn like went and like started over with like just like $600 to my name in Arizona. It's like a whole crazy experience. Anyways, starting over there, it was all about betrayal. So I experienced a significant amount of betrayal in Arizona. And then it was meant to be a flip because coming to California was meant to release identity. And all I've done since I've been here is release identity after like I'm like, what is going on? Yeah. So it's been a so yeah, so where you live impacts your field of energy and what experiences you're supposed to have too. So
But you haven't delved into that all that much yet.
not as much as I want to, but I do know where and I used astrophotography to pinpoint exact like geographical locations of where I should live, where would be the best abundant place for me to live, energetically and spiritually. And so I'm like, oh man, like so I narrowed it down to like three places. And so I love that for me. And like same thing with my partner. We have like the same alignment of like those places, and I'm like, oh, we are like okay, like that's you know yeah, but yeah, so I think that's a important thing, like look up astrophotography. You can do it for free on your like on a website, and yeah, it's life altering because you're like, what? So I was here for this period of time and it was meant to be like that. Like, oh, I picked that location for a reason. Oh yeah, but amazing.
Yeah. Well, crap, I'm in Tennessee. What does that mean? You'll have to look that up for you. Does it ask for your date and
Yeah.
time? And oh, okay.
Yeah, so it asks for your date and time and everything, and then it compares it to the like the geographical locations of where the stars align and the planets align. It's fascinating, and I've talked a lot, especially with the politics that are going on. I love talking about politics, not to debate with people, but because there's an energy beneath it that's just so fascinating to me. Wherever we choose to be raised and born in, like that alone has its own energy field, it has its own political system, and all of that intertwines with how we're going to see the world and how our how it programs our ego as well. And it's just so incredible because like I'm friends with people from South Africa and Australia and Germany and like UK, and like all of them have these different, totally different, you know, like experiences because of where they were born and raised and what they what energy they attract in as a result of that environment. It's There's so much to be said about that energetically, and then from a past life and ancestral you know, side to this. There's a lot about why you choose certain places and do certain things, even right down to certain foods that you like to eat, and clothes you like to wear,
Wow.
and
And
soaps. Don't even get me started. Like, oh, actually, I'm already started. Who
so,
the who the crow
go
is?
for it. Go for it. Tell me about soaps.
Yeah,
And
like
you
all of
continue.
that impacts. Like it all has a like an impact on how you you know, like how you see yourself in the world and how you show up. And in that ego, I love Sonia Chiquette. Okay, again, I'm gonna talk about other like Sonia Chiquette. I love her. She's on YouTube, and she's like the spirit guide guru, I guess you could call her. Like she teaches you all about about spirit guides. She likened the ego. She talked about how she feeds her ego, and I loved how she said it, because like I feel like I do that, like where like I'll go get an ice cream sundae, and that's feeding the ego side of me, or like because the ego side of me likes things a certain way, and likes video games, and I don't mind doing that. I don't mind like enjoying the fruits of this earth that I'm in, and that's we're meant to experience that interaction of the world that we are in. And I think people negate that out because they think they have to go too much on the spiritual end of it, and I think people get kind of lost in that. Like they're like, certain foods that you eat are going to impact your intuition, and I do believe that that does have an impact, you know, but I also feel like, who gives a fuck? Eat the chocolate. Have the greasy fucking food. You're like, we're not getting out of this earth without, like, we're gonna pass away. We're gonna, like, the physical body has to pass away, okay? Yes, you want to prolong it. Yes, you want to live. You're supposed to do that. And yes, everything in a balance is needed. But who gives, eat the chocolate? Like, enjoy your experience. Like, you know, like, be sensual, you know, like, enjoy. There's nothing wrong with you enjoying like your desires of your life. Like, I just, you know, I think religion kind of takes that away, where it says like you got to do this and you can't enjoy the sensuality of life, and it's like, no, enjoy your sensuality,
Yeah.
enjoy the parts of your body. Like, you came here, you picked this body, and this body has sensitivities to certain things, and so enjoy those sensitivities and those interactions that you can have with the world.
Okay, you were
That's my
talking
message.
soaps, and then you were talking soaps, and we talked used oils, salts, and salts to cleanse.
Hmm.
Okay. And I know
Egyptians
that,
got it right.
yeah, Egyptians knew more than a lot of. It hasn't been handed down, and I saw recently there was an Egyptian Bible. I want to get one of those because it was one of the two original languages the Bible was written in. So I
Mhm.
definitely want to see what an Egyptian Bible has to say
Oh
in
my
English.
gosh. I have to say this,
Okay.
especially to the spiritual group, by the way, guys. Like, I just did this with my spiritual group. I like had them take a screenshot of their human design charts and throw them in the chat, which you can get your human design charts like on, like, I don't know, like there's free websites everywhere. Like, you just put in your, you know, like your natal chart information, and then it just like gives you your chart. Anyway, screenshot it, go take it into Chat GPT and ask for the three strongest psychic abilities based on your human design chart. It'll analyze your human design chart and tell you what your three
Wow.
strongest abilities are. And I sat there and I did that. It gave me five of my strongest abilities, because I have five strong abilities, and I was like, what? And like, it was so validating, okay, because it makes so much sense. I'm like, that actually makes sense. Like, so use your human design chart. That was an incredible, like, and I did it for everybody in the chat. Like, they were just like they were like, oh my god, that makes sense, oh my god, that feels so validating. So do that, because it's validating, because it tells you more about like why you are the way that you are, like, you know, and you choose
Wow.
certain things, and then how you can use it to more of your benefit.
So what were your five?
Oh my God, I can't even think of all of them. So I have clairvoyance, claircognizance is, I was surprised about this one. Claircognizance was the top one. And I was
Okay.
like, you know, like I was kind of skeptical, because but I get information where it's coming in from a sense of knowing. And sometimes I'm like, I made that shit up. Like I'm in the
You
reading and I'm
know,
like, I made this shit up. There's no way. And then the whole time they're like, oh my God, that resonated so much. And I'm like, really? Like, huh, like you know, like, but yeah, so claircognizance is one of my higher, like the stronger ones. Then I have clairaudience, clairvoyance, so a deep inner vision, which there's some sort of what I like. It also took my birth chart, and it, like, because it knows my birth chart too, so it took my birth chart and it analyzed it as well, and it was talking about past lives. So like it's like, oh, so like that's why, like when I look at someone, I just automatically see like visions of like past lives, but I'm not looking at like the past life that they had an amazing experience. It's more like the trauma stuff, because like I'm attuned to the trauma of somebody, and I've honed in on that more, so it's made it easier. Like, but anyways, I was naturally doing this without even knowing that this was like like available to me. And anyways, and then it goes down to like clairsentience, so that like the sense of, you know, feeling and things like that. And then there's some empathic stuff, which I don't really like. I'm not a big believer in the empath thing, because at the moment somebody says, oh, I'm an empath, I'm like, you're unhealed.
you're what?
Like,
What'd you say?
you're unhealed.
Oh,
Because like, you know, like, you know, because I feel like that's, you know, what you're saying is you're very sensitive and you feel things, but are you, because a true empath who's healed does not need to say they're an empath, they just embody that energy. And so that's where I'm like kind of like, you know, like, so that's why I don't like that. But yeah, but empathic abilities came up on there, and then mediumship was a big thing on the, like, my chart, which is, frankly enough, if I was just telling Joanna about this. I sat back and I was just like, just the other night I was telling her, man, I feel like, you know, like mediumship is a scary thing for me still. Like I still get to these points where I'm about to do some mediumship and I just go, I'm wrong. You know, like what if I'm wrong about this, or what it, like, you know, and yeah, I don't know. So yeah, that's still an area, and it's funny that it's in my chart, but it's something that I'm still a little uncomfortable with at times. I think because I just don't practice it as much, like outrightly, because I'm more in the trauma part of it or the healing stuff, and then more into the ancestral stuff. So
well, when you talk about ancestry, you kind of tap into the mediumship when you were talking about. You told me a story about a lady who wanted to talk to her grandmother. We won't get into that story right now. I do want to tell everyone who's coming in, because we have new people coming in, that we're talking to Brittany Larson and extraordinaire. Um, and we are going to do readings if anyone has a question. She did a collective reading. And so anybody who wants to join in, please put the information in. Be, besides the heavy stuff, what else do you feel anything else for the collective?
well, my feet are vibrating, and I feel like I feel like I want to say get to stepping, because like there's I there's like a movement in it, and there needs to be more like you know, like more action this season, like more action, like do fun things, get out there, have fun, have a experience. The only, and you know what, it's funny because I was talking about trust being a predominant thing. um you build trust through hobbies, you know, through, you know, like doing things with yourself where you're like having fun, and like letting go, letting you know, like letting for a moment, you know, like, and I go back to this, can you for a moment release this, can you release the problems that are in your life right now and focus on something that's bringing you true joy and true peace? And if it's that walk, go enjoy that walk and get to step in on that walk. You know, if it's go hang out with the grandkids, or go be around, you know, the kids, or go do something that's going to bring you into a state of presence. And that's really that's all that's needed. You know, you don't have to do all this extra trauma work or all this other understandings of stuff. Like, this is a season of you learning to really listen to you, and you can't do that unless you're present with you, and you can do it very easily by just going out and having a blast.
And it's nice that you said that. I had a very vivid dream that basically boiled down to a couple words and one number. But anyway, it was NHTA. Never hesitate to take action.
Mm,
So if you've got the feeling to do something, just do it. Just do it. You know, yes, as they say, if you're walking across the street and a car comes flying around, yeah, you didn't hesitate to back off. So
mhm.
definitely, I mean, but that tells me that I need to keep listening to that and keep
Yeah.
moving forward. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
do what I
Yeah.
need to do.
Keep that steady pace forward. And I don't know about you, but I do like a every 6 months I do a like a little psychic forecast for myself, and I'll like plan out like goals that I want to have. And I'll meet with my guides in a little bit of like a board meeting, I guess you could call, and we'll talk about like what the plan is for the next 6 months, and how to kind of overcome some stuff. And it's funny because like 6 months ago, my guides were like, this is gonna be rough. Like, and it like, because my mom passed away, and you know, like, and it
Um,
was just like, and I was like, why is it gonna be rough though? And they were just like, we're with you, we love you, and you're like, have faith, you're going to learn faith. And sure enough, it's been 6 months, and I have you know, within that time frame of that message, I feel more stronger in myself, even though I have emotions that come up, and you know, panic attacks and stuff. I feel stronger in myself, and more evolved into the work that I do, and I love sharing it with people. So yeah.
yeah. Anyway, yeah. It. So since this is the end of the 6 months, when is your next meeting?
So my next meeting is actually coming up here in the next like week. So I have like a little bit of a board meeting to plan for, and things to do. And I have actually taken some days off. So and it's funny because some of my clients they'll be getting ready to book their next mentorship session or whatever. And they're like, oh, you're booked out for a couple of weeks. And they don't realize, oh, I booked out because I actually have some stuff I have to do with spirit. Like I have a meeting like to go and like sit on a beach or whatever and just sit with spirit, you know, like at like 5 in the morning or whatever. And I'm also planning here in the next July 20th, that week, I'm going to Sedona, and I'm going to be releasing my mother's ashes. And it's ironic to me because just last night I was like honing in some of the details, and I was deciding when I was going to spread her ashes in the creek. And I was like, "Ugh, something about the 24th. I'm going to do it on the 24th." It's like every day that I was looking at didn't match. I was like, the only day I can do it is the 24th. And so I'm like sitting there thinking about the 24th, and I'm like, what is the 24th? It's my mother's birthday on the 24th.
Oh
And so I
my.
was like, oh, like the irony that I'm going to release her ashes on the 24th. And like, and I have like this whole thing, like I'm very ancestral. So I'm going to be doing a lot of shamanic drumming and chanting, and then kind of like open up a healing realm, and I'm gonna like pour some dried flowers into the ashes, and as I spread them so that I can watch the ashes go down the creek. And then I'm gonna find a rock that symbolically represents like my ancestral release at that creek. So it's gonna be a powerful like, and I have a whole thing about releasing identity with the attachment of whatever grief I had to. It's just so much. I'm so excited about this. Like I can't even see straight. So, but it's just ironic that, you know, the 24th will be the day that I get that release with my mother. So that's nice.
Are you going to spend it all in Sedona, or are you planning on hitting any place else in
Yeah,
Arizona?
yeah. So I'm gonna be in Sedona the whole time because like Sedona, like Sedona's just so much of my heart. I got a really nice Airbnb that I'm going to be staying in for like the majority of like the whole time that I'm there. So I'm just going to spend that time there and really kind of come back to, like parts of me that I let go of as a result of the pain or whatever the case is. So just kind of finding relief and releasing and just taking the time for myself there. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I do love Sedona, and the energy there is fabulous. What area of Sedona? Because I
So
know there's some very busy areas.
oh
Very
yeah,
busy.
so I'm gonna be on the like on the 89A when you are going through the windy. Like I found an Airbnb that's out in the middle of nowhere, and it's a really nice Airbnb within the views are like to die for. Like there's so many reviews on the views of this place, and it's like this big house, and I was like I have to have it. Like I was scrolling through and I'm like, Spirit, tell me which, like, and when I say spirit, I'm talking about my guides. I'm
Yeah.
like, tell me which Airbnb is the right energy, because usually I go for an Airbnb that's closer to a vortex. So, and I was just like, which one's the right energy where I can like get like more stars than I've ever seen in my life, and be able to like go late at night, because Joanna will be with me, so I'm going to take her with me, and we're going to like go on like night walks. We like a lot of stargazing and things like that. So I was like, I want to, like I want to have an experience, and so then it was this place, and I kept going back to this place. I thought, no, I'm not going to go to this place. I'm going to do something different. I kept going back and forth, and then finally I like looked at that place, and I'm like, oh my god, like it's the place. So expect a lot of pictures on my social media moving forward of like how beautiful it is. And I every time I'm out there, I have like just amazing spiritual experiences with spirit. And then the indigenous people, the passed away indigenous people of the land come out. Oh my God. Like every time I'm on the creek, there's like Native Americans that are like, like doing some stuff with the water. And I'll like walk out there and I'll start talking to them and asking them who they are, and like how long like have they been passed, and like what were they doing when they were alive, what tribe were they a part of? Like I'll ask a million questions to them. So like it's a lot of them are so private too, which is so fascinating to me. And they have like so much depth and wisdom about, the land and about the experiences that we have. And it's beautiful. Yeah, definitely. Like if we could make that happen, I would absolutely love to swing by and see you guys.
Well, we'd have to swing by and see you if you're staying up in Sedona. You know, it's you'll have to pull our arms hard to get us to go to Sedona. Yeah, right. Uh,
I'm taking, and it's funny. I'm taking Joe to Jerome, like right before we go up to Sedona, because I was just like, you've never seen Jerome, you have to see Jerome, but it's kind of heavy, like the energy is just kind of like a bit more dense there. At least because every time I've been there with my medium friends, like when we go, it's like, like it's like the
yeah.
energy just feels just dense. But the haunted hamburger is to die for, and I am a firm believer. And then they give you like, you can get like a chocolate, like a piece of cake, and the size of the cake is huge. Okay, like just the piece alone is huge. So I have to go. Okay, so like we're like that's happening, but then we're gonna be in Sedona for the rest of the time. So but we're not staying in Jerome, because like I just was like, absolutely not, it's too heavy and dense there. So but yeah,
Yeah.
Sedona's magical, especially if you can get away from the tourists. And I happen to have a like thank goodness I've had enough experiences out there that I've found ways around tourists. So there's a place called the Stupa. If you've never been to the Stupa, go to the Stupa. Okay, it is life altering. It's a big altar, and you walk around it clockwise 3 times, and you say your prayers and good wishes, and then leave an offering at the stupa. It's a very spiritual land. Immediately when you're driving up to that land, you feel it, and it's just amazing. But yeah, so like and last time that I was there, I left a moldavite as an offering at the stupa, and then I ended up on the airport vortex that I left another offering underneath a rock. And like I left it was another moldavite that I had, and I left it, and I was like, I had to release those moldavites. They just weren't in alignment with my energy field anymore, and I didn't feel like giving because there's so much pain in them that I
Oh,
was like, I like, and it was good energy. I mean, it transmuted it, but I was just like, it's not. I don't feel right giving it to somebody. It went through a lot, like, and I'm just like, it just needs to be. It needs to be rejuvenated and cleansed, and it needs a Jesus. And so I was like, here's the stupa, and here's the vortex, and so and I recently ended up with another moldavite again.
oh, wow.
Like, so it's just funny how, like, all that works out how it needs to work out, but I just love that. Yeah, so
Well, well, Victor, nice of you to drop in. Victor is from Sweden, if you haven't heard.
yeah, hello.
And I did that at the stupa. I guess that's what you're talking about. I took pictures too. Wait, is that the place where the bug Buddha is? Is there a bug Buddha?
There's Buddhas there. A bug Buddha. I don't know if you're talking about like a bug Buddha. Stupid, not stupid. Oh man.
I know. I love this stuff. Um,
Oh boy.
okay. Yeah. If you guys have questions, please pop in with them.
So I was gonna
Remember,
say, I was wondering if this was gonna happen. Sometimes I get into a live and I start channeling through conversation, and so then it ends up being just a live of conversation instead of like reading people because it's still channeling. And I didn't like I was wondering if this was gonna happen where no one was asking, and I was just like, well, okay, but
well, I know there's a couple people in here who do ask questions, so that's why I keep reminding them you can ask questions. Don't
can
feel
ask
bad.
questions anytime, any day, anywhere. Um, yeah, but what was I
Big
gonna
Buddha.
say?
Oh, that's what she meant. Big Buddha. I took.
Oh yeah. So there is a big Buddha, and then there's like the huge altar that has is so much history. It's been blessed. Then there's also a Native American medicine like wheel, and you can walk around that as well. And I love that. I ended up actually the day that my mom passed away, in the wee hours of the morning, I went out to Laguna Beach, and I probably freaked the people out there because I went out there with my backpack, take my backpack off, and I have like my big crystal rocks, and I make this huge medicine wheel and
Yeah.
like bless it, and then I start walking it because I'm like doing a release of some stuff and forgiveness, and then like literally actually I'll talk about that while we're waiting. Uh and then that same day I was in Target shopping, and I dropped my head down. It was around 3 p.m. And I like dropped my head down and like sighed really heavily, like a gasp of air. And Joanna was with me when I did that, and she looks at me and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine. But I was almost like disassociated. I couldn't even express how I was feeling, and I was just like, did I walk into like a thought form? Like what happened? Like I felt like this deep gasp of air, like I just took my last breath, and I don't understand what that even means. And I'm like going about my day, and I'm like, I get in the car and I'm driving back, and I probably shouldn't have been driving like when I was like kind of in that state. And like we go to a red light, and I'm like at that red light, and I'm like, because like inside I was like, whatever energy I picked up, I'm releasing that, because whatever that was heavy and dense. That was my mother passing away literally that day, and I like in that exact time frame too, like that was incredible.
Wow.
That I had no idea, because it wasn't until like 5 p.m. that day that I got the phone call that she was gone. And I knew like immediately when I got the phone call that she had passed. I knew what she passed of. I didn't like, and it was kind of scary for my estranged relative, who was just like, hey, this is what happened. I'm like, oh yeah, I know. And she died of this, didn't she? And they're like, yes. Like, like they're like a little bit like, I don't know what to say, like, because but yeah, but definitely it's incredible how we have that connection with people on this earth, and we get to bear witness to their experience, and then and we can feel that when they're leaving this earth. It's incredible.
Yeah. Sure, spank me standing next to the Buddha. So, so what we'll just if when we meet up in Sedona, we're going to have to give a award for the craziest shirt or something.
Oh, that's funny.
Spank me to Tina. Is that was that for Buddha or was that for? Yeah. Anyway, okay.
That's funny.
And you have white T-shirts, so you probably won't have one that says "spank me."
No, I will never have anything. I'll probably have. I can wear spiritual gangster, you know, but
Oh, I like that one. I've heard
yeah,
about that one.
it's
I think,
funny.
but yeah, heard you left me. Oh, oh, somebody else. Okay, I don't know who she's talking
Yeah.
about.
So, oh, what was I gonna say?
Channeling.
I don't know. I didn't even have anything to say. It was
Well,
it was so inappropriate.
oh, say it anyway. We had
It's
a
so funny.
spank me T-shirt. I mean,
That's well, no, I mean like that's what she said was it was so inappropriate.
yeah, that's
That's what
okay.
I read. I was like, oh, that's so funny. Um I was gonna say, like, with, like when we're talking about um things like, oh, I was going to talk about crab theory, because I'm like, well, no one's, like no one's asking for a reading, so I guess I'll talk about crab theory if you don't mind.
Oh, sure, please.
So like, and I was talking about that, like at the beginning I brought that up, and crab theory is so interesting to me because it's the theory that, like, because fishermen don't need to put a lid on the buckets, and it's because the crabs, like if a crab crawls out of the bucket, it, like, the other crabs will literally drag it back into the bucket, and if it tries to do it again, the crabs will break its leg to make sure that it cannot crawl out. And I had a friend a long time ago that was a judge, and she was, like, like really successful in the areas of her life that she really wanted to be. And I was just like, what's the secret here? Because I was still not getting it. I was just like, what is it? What is the she's like, it's not about this stuff. And I'm like, but what's the secret? What's the fucking secret? Oh, I don't understand. And she's like, the secret is stop listening to other people and realize that there's a reason why the bus has as many seats as it does and the Lamborghini has as many seats as it does. And it's because when you start having more success and you start moving in a direction where you're healing, you're evolving, you're seeing things from different perspectives, get ready for some uncomfortable conversations, because there's people around you that formulated a story, or formulated a like you in a certain role that you were playing. And so when you start shaking it up and you start changing those roles and you start honoring yourself and you start breaking free of stories and limitations and belief systems, you start moving in a direction that takes you away from what the mass crowd collective does, which is sit in that energy and sit in their stories and need help and help and help and help. And so when we're stepping away from that, that's why we lose so many friends, because so some could say, well, they weren't friends to begin with, but they were friends because they were friends in the period of time that you needed them to be friends. But then they became people that didn't have any alignment with you any longer, because you learned to work through whatever that lesson was that you had to share with that person. I just think that's so fascinating, and that's why I love crab theory, because it's just literally like that's where communities can actually break you at some points if you stay in. And I was talking to a client recently who has addiction issues, and she has recovered so much over the years, and she was leaving narcotics recovery anonymous, she was leaving that organization, and she said, I feel so guilty, I need to stay in that organization, I need to stay there. And I'm
Mhm.
like, who the hell said you need to stay there? Like, and she's like, what do you mean? And I said, who said that you need, because you're recovering, you're a recovering addict, you have to stay in that particular organization. I said,
Ooh,
you're leaving that organization because like the energy just doesn't match you anymore, and you don't want to keep talking about that. I said, that is enough of a reason to go find a new community. That's enough for you to step away. It's always there if you need them again. But it was almost to the point where it was like keeping her in that addiction behavior. And it's just so fascinating how much our communities can build us up or break us down completely, even if we're not attached to the people that are in that community. It's the mindset of the community, the consciousness of the community that can actually hold us down, or like literally break our legs to prevent us from leaving that. And it's not intentional, it's not mean, it's not meant to be hurtful in any kind of way. It's just simply that that's where people are in their consciousness, where
Yes.
they are in their understanding. And I think it's just, that is so fascinating to me. um
Yeah,
oh, breathtakingly fascinating.
I can definitely see that. Now, Harley, were you asking a question? It's hard when you do capitalization all the time to know what you're asking. That were great things were coming up. Is it possible to get any clues on what it may be? I feel like a kid on Christmas wanting to see what is under the tree. Here we go. This is better, I think. Possible if there's time, I would love to have any clue on info on the wonderful things coming my way. All right, coming up. Right. Yes. Okay. So that's the thing. So are you getting anything for Miss Harley?
Well, I like just reading that, I saw like money like just flying all over the place, like, and it felt like a I'm having a physical release right now. Woo, excuse me. I just started burping. Okay, like I'm like, what? But anyways, like that was a very interesting energetic release. Um so I feel like what's coming for you, and I'm not sure like what you already know about that, but like I'm looking at between, well, actually from like the end of, what is it, June? This is the end of June till what looks like even well into August. I see like money, like there's just money flowing. I see a huge energetic release that feels like it's like I'm seeing two, it's like as if I'm seeing the two worlds like colliding, and I'm coming to a new understanding about those two worlds. And it's weird that I'm thinking this way, but I'm just going to go with it. I'm
Yeah.
thinking of Lord of the Rings right now, and I'm seeing like the two towers or whatever, and I'm just like, okay, like what is that? But I feel like it's like we've been on a, like I feel like that's what Spirit's kind of saying about, like we've been on a journey, we've been on an experience, like kind of like Frodo, on this journey. He kind of got like shoved into it, kind of like pushed down, like pushed into this journey, and it's felt a little bit, there's been some victimization that's come up, there's been
Mhm.
some fears, there's a lot of invalidation, like, and it's been a journey of like, who do I trust, who can I lean on, who can I like, who's the actual enemy here, and like in some of it, even it's like seeing ourself as the enemy, and having to kind of rebalance our self-image of who we see ourselves as and how we move into this world. There's a lot of doubt that's come up in this experience, but it's like almost like we're getting to the point where we're seeing the towers from a different perspective. We're seeing it as maybe it wasn't that these people are bad or enemies or villains. Maybe it's that they have this whole other story to experience. And then also, I feel enlightened. I feel inspired. I feel ready for my next journey, for my next embarkment. As if I'm about to embark on something new. It's like we've learned all we need to learn about Lord of the Rings. Now it's time we're going to move into like Game of Thrones. I'm just kidding. Like that's
I
the
was going to
worst.
say,
But
no red
like
wedding, please. No red wedding. Please.
like
Oh,
I'm sorry, that was funny. Talk about dramatic. But like
yes.
it's like we've moved from that into now another, like it's like we're moving to another phase of our life, and in that shift, and the shift will set in by about November of this year. By the time that shift happens, it's like as if we're entering a whole new reality of what we see things, and it's like as if you're going from seeing things dark and gloomy to seeing the positive, seeing the light of stuff. It feels lighthearted. It feels fresh. I also feel that about money. Like I keep going back to the money thing because it's like as if I see money and I don't, it's making me anxious because like I'm seeing the money like fly out, not where's it flying into my pockets or into my bank account. It's flying out. It's flying out. So I feel like it's a season while there is money, I feel like there is money going out. So I feel like it's like you have exactly what you need to take care of the things that you need to take care of. But I also feel like on the other hand of that, can you be mindful about the money that you have? Can you be mindful about how you can be a little bit more frugal in certain areas? Just because it feels like it's just so free, like, and we're not really seeing that we need to have a little bit more mindfulness towards that money. And remember that you know, like that money can absolutely you know, like how we spend it, how we you know, release it also indicates how like what kind of trauma responses we have as well, because a lot of times, you know, if we overspend in certain areas and things like that, it indicates there's some sort of emotional upheavals that we're not dealing with. So just be mindful of those things. But you've already been through such a dark journey to get to where you're at. See the light in this, see the beauty in this experience, and know that you're having exactly what you need when you need it. You don't even have to worry about who you trust or you don't trust. It's going to be shown to you in the time that it needs to be shown to you.
And I read Harley often, so I know that that should resonate highly with her. I know what she's been through, some of it, of course, not everything, because I haven't been with her 24/7. But yeah, Harley, if you have a second, please check back in. I don't know if she's crying or what right now, but relief more than anything. But yes, I hope that helps you, Harley.
I do also want to say, in Harley's energy, my this would be my left shoulder. I feel like I got like this knot in my left shoulder, and it's going all the way up my neck. Um, Interesting. I feel like this is attachment to being rejected, which I don't really like. I don't know how that would because like, and it's weird because usually this for me indicates like an abandonment wound coming up and like some painful things that regarding that, and then we're attached to it, and we were attached to a perspective, like literally this energy. I feel this when I'm talking to one of my clients who has like she went through a breakup recently, and she hasn't got over, like hasn't got through the fact that it's not going to work out, right? That's usually what this pain is, but this just feels like rejection to me, and it feels like I'm still, there's still some attachment to the way that people perceive me or the approval that I get from that. So make sure that you like it, and that's normal. We have things we have to work on, right? So can you spend more time asking yourself, what do you really think about this? You know, what is it that you truly want out of this? What is it that you're like wanting to create out of this? And there's always another perspective to this. You know, just because one person rejects you doesn't mean somebody else doesn't you know, understand you and approve of you. Does that make sense? So make sure you're checking in with yourself a little bit in this experience, and know that this is well deserved. It's time.
And knowing her, hopefully she can get back on and give you feedback. But it sounds very good. Now, A5 says, who does well reading
Angie.
others,
Okay.
Miss Angie. So,
So Angie's open to a reading.
yes, temperance is my current
Of
love.
course she is. I'm just kidding.
She's not always, you know that.
Would you like to start?
No, you go right ahead.
Oh,
I saw her last night. She was in class last night.
oh,
So
okay.
I have her energy from then. So yeah.
I gotta
All right.
like get
This is
I gotta get in that class with you guys at some
yes,
point.
please,
Yeah,
anytime.
totally
And
gotta sit there.
fist pump, toes wiggly. You know me well. My soul is so happy. Yeah.
Good. I'm so happy for you, and like I wish I could hug you. So good job on the journey that you've been on, and can keep up that good work. Okay, Angie. So Angie,
Yeah.
what does Angie need to know?
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was just, like as soon as I said, Angie, what does Angie need to know? I instantly thought of what I did last night, and I shouldn't even talk about this. Like, I shouldn't even, like, this is not like we were just talking about judgment earlier. I'm sorry. Instantly, what came into my like so last night I was on TikTok and I was scrolling, and me and my medium friend from Florida, like we're best friends. We love looking at the different, like readers and things like that and how they read people. But we have a shared a shared disgust or disdain that we're both working through for readers who are actively trying to just do very, very, very unethical things. Like we just aren't about that. And so I just think it's fascinating because that's what flashed in my mind. Like when I started to look at Angie's, energy, because I was just like, man, I'm judging. Like, why are they acting like that? They need to stop being a fool. And they need to stop and I just like started laughing because I'm like, that's so Angie. Like I just, like Angie would be who I would talk shop with too. So I mean, like, but not in a like, and I'm not saying like talking shop like, oh, like why are they reading like that? It's the people that are like I was talking about a lady who was is saying that she's a psychic medium, and she's doing readings on these lives, and she has somebody come into the reading room, and she's like about to read them, and she's like, oh, I want to prove to you that I'm psychic. And I'm like, oh my god, like no, don't say that. Like what, like why would you say that? And then she's like, so I'm going to prove to you that I'm psychic, so I'm going to tell you some things about you. And so she says that, and then she's like, what's your question? And then the lady is like, oh, I was wondering if there's a gentleman in the, like in the spirit world, next to me. And the reader was like, that'll be $30. And
Oh
I was
my.
like, oh no. Like, and I was just
Yes.
like, and I was scrolling, so I was like, I got stopped on that, and I was like, oh my god. And the lady that she was reading has kidney failure, like, and I could see that on her energy, and I was just like, no, like you gotta just be
Oh
loving to
no.
these people, like diplomacy. I was just talking about this to one of my reader clients. I said, listen, like diplomacy is an important thing. We're going to talk about what that means and how you can apply that in your life. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And like I swear, like this lady was just like, it was like nails on a chalkboard. I was like literally dying inside because I'm watching her say, no, that'll be $30. And then the sitter was like, oh well, what question can I ask you? A medical question? And she said, that'll be $40. And I was like, what? Like, and I recorded it because I was just like, I have to record this because like I need to go back and like deal with whatever freaking emotional response I'm having about somebody reading like this is just what is going on with me. And so she does that, and like the lady's like, oh, I'm not going to pay that. What can I ask? And she said, you can ask a psychic question. And so she's like, oh, am I going to get a phone call? And instantly my head dropped because I'm like, she's waiting on a phone call for a kidney. That's what she's waiting on, a phone call for. And I'm just like, please don't fucking say no. Don't give like don't like, you can use diplomacy. And like literally she chose to say no. No, you're not going to get a phone call in this year. You'll get it next year. And that lady's energy just sunk. And it just made me want to sob because I was just like, that is a freaking human being. That
Oh
is like,
my.
that is like, and I can't, so I'm going to say this in your energy, Angie, because apparently I am screaming right now. That's so funny. Okay. Um, so I'm going to say this right now. It is never okay to talk to somebody in that kind of context ever. We're not these robots that live here. You cannot negate out emotions. You cannot negate out the experience of what people are going through. And we are human beings, and we are all going through things. And I think that it's incredibly disheartening to be a reader and to witness and see um, other readers, claim to have all these abilities, right, and all this love, but then sit there and like treat some other human that way who's going through that kind of level of medical distress and discomfort. And and I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't been the greatest reader. I've gotten some negative feedback. I've gotten scathing emails from years ago. I even got one recently. I got a scathing email from a client that I read years ago, like exactly 3 years ago. And she said, and it was really like, honestly, I apparently didn't communicate enough with her, that I wasn't just like a medium, and so when she got into the reading with me, I thought the expectation was there, that I wasn't just a medium. She was expecting loved ones to come through, and I talked about her grief, and I talked about the trauma of everything that was going on. And she took that as aggression and cold. And so she then, like, it apparently sat on that all these years, and went and found another medium, and then talked about me to that other medium, and that medium's like, oh, I want to work with Brittany because she needs help if she's still doing readings. And so that's what she said in her email, and I read that email, and I'm like in tears, because I'm like, oh, like I never wanted to do that to somebody. And I call it my medium friend, and she's like, fuck that. She held on to that for years. And I was just like, I know, but like, it's so sad. But, anyways, long story short, we are not perfect, right? So we're
Right.
bringing in our energy, and there's times where we might not have a good filter when we're, like working with spirit. There's times where maybe we're not balanced, and that needs to be reshaped and things like that. But know that you are actively important. You are special. And regardless of maybe some of that negative feedback, remember that with everything that we're doing in this world, there's gonna be some people that don't agree with it, that say that you're just, I've been yelled at before. It's been years since I've been yelled at, but like I really applied that diplomacy thing. Like, like, to be diplomatic is really important. But anyways, with Angie, and it's so funny, I'm talking about all of that when you're in your energy field. So I just think that's so funny, that's I just got like a flood of that came up. And so I am curious to know, what the hell are you doing about that? And when I say what the hell are you doing about that, if that makes you that angry, if it makes you if it invokes something inside of you to witness some other reader behaving in that way, challenge accepted. How can you bring some messages forward to other people to kind of, give them an energy spanking, like tell them, like, they need to get their shit together as a reader, and like, give it to them, like I like, but like I that's what I was going to say about Angie's reading, like, but that's kind of like, what I'm getting is in really like seeing other people and how they read, and there's a beauty in it, and there's an art in it, and there's also some negative in it, for people. And so but then also I also have to stress that any negative feedback that you've ever gotten, Angie, I want you to know that spirit loves you tremendously, tremendously, and loves how you filter, loves how you bring forth information. And yes, there needs to be a little bit more love, that you bring in with some of your readings, but it's also exactly how it needs to be in that moment, and you do such an amazing job in that way. And so I honor that for you. So I just wanted to say that. Now, getting into more of the personal, if you want me to go a little bit more personal with, like, something else, something else. Um, Damn the self-doubt. And I'm so sorry. I'm gonna call it out. You could tell me to stop. I'll stop right now if you want me to. But damn the self-doubt. And I feel like in some ways, Angie, we kind of make things harder than they need to be sometimes. I feel like we kind of overthink a little bit here, and in some ways we kind of push the envelope where we're really really making it more hard. And in spirits kind of asking, actually not kind of, they're asking you, if you want to make it a little bit easier on yourself. Can you make it a little bit easier on yourself in the sense of bringing forth peace in your life? What does peace actually look like? It's not something external that you can get, it's something inward that you can get. I also kind of want to talk a little bit about work. What areas of work need more balance? And when I say that, I feel like there's too much one way right now, where we're too much in one way and we're not trusting enough to allow things to flow in another way. And what that looks like to me, and I don't know what the circumstances are, because it's been a while since we've talked, but it's like as if we have like multiple different jobs that we're juggling. and it feels like we're kind of leaning too much into one instead of trusting that the other will flow. And you have some powerful messages that need to be delivered to people. You have some powerful impact that needs to be had, and I feel like we're missing some opportunities in that area, because we're leaning too much into what we physically see with our eyes, right? Where we physically see that we can trust this because it's physically showing up, and it's showing up this way. I don't know if that's like what, a W-2 job where it's like a 9 to 5 that we're getting like it's like a set time frame. We get the exact money. We know what's coming in. We know what we can do. And that's great. But how much are we trusting the other part of that where it's more free flowing? It makes me think of when I had to finally trust fall and step out of like I found a lot of stability in window washing, for instance, like where I felt like it was so stable, and it was I could trust it. I had contracts. I knew when the money was coming in. It felt good, but it was exhausting doing that, and my spiritual business on the side, and so I was always juggling both. And then finally it got to the point where I had to stop. I had to literally choose to stop leaning so much on what I could physically see and start trusting, what I couldn't see, which was how was the spiritual work going to come into fruition. And it came in like hard and large. And since then, I have been so protected financially. Even in the instances where I've had to let go of like, something or move out of somewhere, it just magically things just worked out. And I had the right people, right places, right things to show up. And it was spirit going, nope, here you go. You're staying in this. Nope. And I even had a guide even tell me, try to get a W-2 job. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like basically like telling me like I need to be doing this work, and I need to step further into it. So and I want to bring out something here where I'm seeing self-doubt, and I understand that you're saying it's apathy. Um this feels like it because it's sitting on the solar plexus, and it feels like there's an imbalance, which means you're giving power away. So whichever emotion it's strongest. So if it's not self-doubt and you're saying it's apathy, okay, well, it's still kind of the same concept, right? Because both are in a belief system that's holding you almost like hostage, or holding you down and not allowing you to flow more in your experience. And so what we have to look at here is how can we build the faith, build the trust, and surrender in that instance. And so that becomes more about like like how much we do for ourselves on a regular basis. Like I was just sitting last night talking to a client about like talking diplomatically to people, and she's having problems at work, and I looked at her and I'm like, listen, how much the fuck do you take care of yourself on a daily basis? And she looked at me and I said, you didn't drink water today at work, you didn't go pee when you needed to go pee, and you focused too much on what needed to be done and following the policies and regulations instead of taking care of you. And she looked at me and starts laughing. And I'm like, I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. You're gonna have apathy. You're gonna have like a lack of emotional capacity for others around you, and you're gonna be kind of crabby and like, "Eh," like if you are not showing up for you. And I can relate, because if I'm not showing up for me and I'm overcompensating, giving to other people, and then I'm trying to just get myself on the back burner just a little bit. Oh my God, am I critique? Like I'm overly critical. I become like, "Ugh," just like, like, so I need to take care of that. Right. So like, it becomes more about how much time am I taking for me, and really pouring into my cup. So what I'm going to say to you, Angie, is how much can you pour into your cup, in a way that honors you and isn't honoring somebody else and isn't practical. And with that said, within that, the more that you do that, that builds the self-trust that's needed for you to then start building faith in the other side of the stuff that's unseen. And because there's truly a difficulty with what's seen versus what's unseen. And that's an ongoing journey that we all have.
And I hope that helps you, Angie, because I think she said it a lot clearer than all of us who are used to reading you every Tuesday or around that. And Brittany, please come to class on Tuesday. Joanna, anybody, everybody, because we need more and more people in there. We read the same people's over and over again. I mean, yes, the energy changes, but not always week to week, as you
Hmm.
probably understand that. Um, Speaking of Brittany and what she does, let me pull this up real quick. I happen to have a QR code. So please take a picture of it, screenshot so you can go see her at her everything that her services, everything that she knows and does. So please take a look at it. I don't know if you can take on more mentorships, but I'm sure if you get a hold of her, whatever is needed, she'll make sure you get it. If she can't do it, she'll get you someone who can. But I'm sure she'll be able to accommodate a lot more than she's doing right now because she's evolving too.
Hey, I have openings for mentorship, always open for
Always open. Good.
working with people because, my clients work different times and things like that. So it just works. So
Beautiful.
whatever's needed.
And you have a community too of all
Yeah.
of them together. So,
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Building
definitely.
community is very, very important, people.
Hmm.
It really is. Now, tonight will be A5 Says and Sonoran Mystic Tarot, Don and Angie. Tomorrow morning will be Sonoran Mystic Tarot and Naturally Divine Goddess Tarot, which is, I hope, hopefully, Shauna and Don. I will be back on Friday morning with Scott. Friday evening, Friday night live happy hour is with Bonnie and Sarah. Saturday, Miss Susan will be back at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Sunday morning, Bonnie and Jess on Psychic Sunday. Sunday afternoon, since A5 says is still here, are you going to be Sunday afternoon with Sherry Beery? Please let us know. And Monday, I'm not sure if anybody's going to be in the morning. Claudine and Ann will be in the evening, 5:22 to 7:22 Mountain Standard Time. Ann is from Australia, so they have different hours. And I will be back Tuesday morning with Claudine. And then next week is Michelle Frost will be on. So I hope this has helped you guys. It was great getting to know you better and hearing more stories from you, Brittany. And sometime, if you want to come back, we'll just do um, some readings. But I loved all the information you gave us. I know you helped a lot of people, and if there's anything, yeah, everybody's popping up now, and added sub to Brittany. What? Sadly, a little late for me, but oh, okay, yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in, and hold on there just a minute, Brittany, as we say goodbye. Is there anything else you would like to say to the collective here?
You guys are amazing. Keep up the good work, and I'll see you guys soon.
When do you go live next?
Oh my goodness. I'm looking at Thursday afternoon for my next live, and then Saturday this week. I think, yeah,
Saturday morning,
Thursday and Saturday.
afternoon?
Saturday afternoon.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
All right. And that's on YouTube, correct?
that'll be on TikTok.
TikTok. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brittany to Brit to
Yes, it's right. It's right
oh,
here. Brit to the knee.
Brit to the
Um,
knee. Oh, there it is. The knee. Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next time.